We're back. It's like Harry Potter. Like, I think it's Harry Potter 5,
Five.
the Ministry of Magic. They see Voldemort, and it's like, he's back. That's us. So, I'm David Caldwell. This is Krista Britton. We're talking about the housing market, the Portland housing market. We're going to talk about mortgage rates. We're going to detail out some historic information. But a big thing we're going to talk about today is just the benefit of homeownership. Because here's what Krista and I know. At 8% interest rates, it might not be the right time for you to buy. And really, probably, if you own a house right now that's meeting most of your needs, it probably really isn't the right time to buy unless you can get amazing value on that dream house.
You mean
So,
sell, not the right time to sell?
go ahead. Wait, what'd you say?
Do you mean not the right time to sell if you have got that low interest rate? Is that what you mean?
No. Yeah, buy and sell, right?
Yeah.
Because seller's a buyer. But yeah,
Gotcha.
so we know that the economic conditions, we're not here to pitch you on why you should, buy or sell. We are just here to educate you. That is the whole goal of this channel. If you're watching it, you watched before, please like and subscribe. We would appreciate that. But we're just going to get in today, and I think really where we should start is where current payment would be on the average sales price home.
Okay.
And then we'll get in and talk about the benefits of home ownership if you are that buyer. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm like recovering from like a 3-week COVID stint. And for some reason right now, it has me breathing heavy. So, a $625,000 purchase price, a $500,000 loan amount.
So they're putting $125,000 down
Putting
in the scenario.
$125,000 down. You have an 8% mortgage interest rate. Your taxes are 1% of the sales price, so they're $520 a month. And you have, $83 a month for taxes. Your payment's $4,273. And that is a rich payment for the Portland housing market. There is just no way around it. I gave a scenario on my Instagram page the other day of an $800,000 home. Well, an $800,000 home today at 7.6% in 2021 was a $1.25 million home at 3%. So rates have had a really big impact, obviously, on affordability and on if people want to be a homeowner, right? I think people are second guessing. There's some people, I think even in our office, Adrian, who's going to edit this, is probably thinking like, will I ever be a homeowner? But he will be, because we'll make sure he is. But let's just talk right now, Krista, about some great reasons for homeownership. Why has it historically been the American dream? You can go first.
Right. The whole idea, right, is to build equity, correct? Right. A lot of times that's kind of how people retire, was with the equity they have in their home. So one of the things, like, if we look at the stats, right, from 30 years ago, right, like we always say, in the last 30 years, there's been 4 years, now probably coming on 5, where there's been depreciation, right? And 4 of those years were during the Great Recession. But about every 10 to 11 years, home values have shown to double. So a buy and hold, right, is still, when you're looking at the past numbers, this a strategic play, where if you want to gain wealth, but it has to be a buy and hold scenario, right? And you need to buy something that you can afford. When the average person stays in their home, 7 to 10 years?
10 years.
10 years, right? So if you're looking to buy that first home, and remember, your first home is not the dream home, right? Most people need to work up to that, right? I'm on my 4th home now, and I am 40. I bought my first home at 25. First one became a rental. Second one, my husband and I bought together, and now we're on our 3rd house together, and now what we would consider our dream home. Okay, but that took a lot of years and equity to do so. And it was all based on the buy and hold scenario, where we bought it and we stayed in it. Now, let's say you're a buyer, okay, and you know you're going to move in a year. Let's say you know next year you're going to move and you're going to want to sell this property. it might not be something we recommend that you do. Because in a year from now, we're not sure that home's going to appreciate. You know, there's a lot going on. Interest rates are high. That might not be the best move. But if you come to us and you say, hey, I'm planning on living in it, or I want to hold on to it and then rent it, and I want to hold this on to this for the long term, then yeah, our advice might be like, hey, yeah, this actually might be a good time for you to buy that. So it really depends on the scenario and what you're looking at and what's going on in your life, right? Babe, what do you think?
Well, I definitely think that like building equity is one of the top reasons why people own homes. You know, the average net worth of a homeowner is 40 times greater than that of a renter. But I think a really underappreciated piece of home ownership is the stability that home has the ability to give you. You know, fixing your cost of living, the pride of home ownership,
Yeah.
having something that's yours, right? Like knowing that 12 months from now, my landlord isn't going to ask me to move out so they could remodel or increase the rent, or maybe my landlord just decided they didn't like me, right? I know that's in the state of Oregon, that's a little bit more challenging to get someone out because you don't like them. But I think the pride of ownership, I think having a place to call home, like that's never going to go out of fashion.
No.
And look, like to your point of building equity, even if I'm going to move, I have something that could turn into an asset. You know, like a home is real. Like I'm not a cryptocurrency guy. Like I just don't believe in a magic ledger in the sky. But I believe in a real tangible asset that I can go bang on the wall and it's there and it's deeded to me, right? There's protections, you know, for that asset. But I think one of the most underappreciated things right now about home ownership is that like that special word home, and what that means to people, because people are seeing a lot of fear. And, you know, I was talking with Caitlin on our team today, and I said, you know, sometimes people can confuse being pessimistic and being pragmatic. You know, we've tried to be really pragmatic on our opinions of the market, and I know some people probably look at me and go, God, he's so negative. He's such a pessimist, because I have had a really contrarian viewpoint to the market for over a year, you know. But I think we've given our clients really quality advice because of that. But because I know sometimes maybe some people could watch this and think we're being pessimistic, I wanted to make sure we showcased a couple things that like showed the value of home ownership. Like we could do a whole hour on investing and why that makes sense, and your ability to pull money out tax-free later. I mean, I could talk for hours about the benefit of home ownership. Home ownership has changed my life, will certainly change my daughter's lives, probably will change like my little piece of my family tree, and you're never going to be able to convince me that home ownership does not make sense. Here's a scenario I looked up, because we are in a statistically declining market. If you bought a house in 2007, the average sales price in the Portland metro area was $342,900. Now, it's unlikely we're in a Great Recession real estate market where we saw 4 consecutive years where home values came down. But in that 4-year period, home values in Portland declined 25%. In 2011, at the bottom, that average home, $342,900, would have been worth $263,300. Now, that hurts if you have to sell. But my experience helping people buy and sell real estate since 2007 is most people don't have to sell, they want to sell. Most moves are a want to, because you have options with this tangible asset, right? You can rent it out. Now, let's say you held on to that house until 2017, because most people stay in a home for 10 years, and you sold it. Well, the average sales price in the Portland metro area in 2017 was $428,700.
And what was it in 2007?
$342,900.
So it went from 342 to what?
$428,700.
Okay.
Which is a 25% return. So when we look at 10-year chunks at the Portland housing market, that's actually the worst one. I owned a house for 10 years in the worst 10-year chunk, and I made a 25% return on purchase price, not including the equity I would have built, not including the memories I would have, hopefully that are positive, right? Um, you know, there's so many things. Maybe I could have done capital improvements to the house and got even more value out of it.
Maybe you had someone move in and help pay that mortgage a little bit.
Yeah. Now, if I rented during that same 10-year period, I would have not made anything on that asset. And I'm not silly, you guys. Maybe you put money into the S&P 500 index, and over 50 years, S&P 500 index basically averaged 10% a year. Like, you could have done quite well, but real estate is a really amazing asset. What would be just like another thing that you think about when you think about the value of home ownership, Krista?
Well, I mean, definitely the memories, right? I still, every time I drive by the home that I grew up in, I will like drive an extra way so I can drive by my old street with the memories, and I find myself now as an adult recreating those memories. I bought a very similar house to the one that I grew up in, and it's set up very similarly with like a daylight basement and things like that, because it has, based on my parents buying and owning, I have followed in their footsteps and have tried to recreate that. So I do think showing that to your family is setting a good example also.
Now, I just thought about a question.
Okay.
I sold you that house.
The house that I'm in right now. Yes.
Yeah. Why did
Yes.
Why did I sell it to you
Because
instead of you representing yourself?
I was so excited when I walked into this house that when I went to go write an offer, I was emotional. It brought up a lot of emotions. And so you were able to help me navigate those emotions and make it more of a transaction so that I didn't overpay and I didn't give away the farm. Because at that moment, I probably would have. And you went in and got me that house.
I definitely believe I saved you money, for sure. It was a multiple offer situation. Look, and here's how I would say it. Buying and selling real estate is a very emotionally complex transaction. Mm-hmm. And especially when we're representing ourselves, it is home. It's the things that you were talking about. It's where we think we're going to have our memories. If it's an investment property, it's a different scenario. But most people are buying their primary residence. And it makes sense to have representation for someone to help keep those emotions in if you're working with the right agent. I don't want to say that every real estate agent has this outlook, because I do think some agents would have let you pay more money for that property instead of helping you get the best value on that property, which is what my job was, since I was retained to do a job and be your steward through the transaction. Now,
And you had my best interest in heart.
Now, I've also bought and sold real estate where I've had people represent me. I bought real estate at the Oregon coast, and I actually represented myself on purchase because it was an investment. I was not emotionally connected to that property at that time. It was just a deal, right? I was just looking for a deal. I represented myself. Now, on exiting that property, I did have a local real estate agent help me. One, because I wasn't as in tune with the market. And two, that transaction had turned emotional because I really loved that house. And I'd made a lot of really great memories there. And I still have great memories there. And when I'm in that community, I drive by that house to see what the new homeowners have done. And it's actually on the market right now. And I get alerts for what's going on about that property. So, all this being said, if you're a home buyer, would-be home buyer who's been watching our conversations about the market, to be educated, to be in tune with the market, if we have sounded pessimistic, we don't want people to forget the beautiful things about home ownership. Most people in our country have most of their wealth in their real estate. That is just a fact, right? It's not an asset you get rich quick with. It's a beautiful long-term asset. It's an asset that creates forced savings. It's an asset that statistically, most of the time, appreciates. Now, if we have 7 and 8% interest rates in the Portland metro area in 2024, I think it's statistically improbable for us to have appreciation. Now, some realtors might choose to debate me on that. If we have interest rates in the sixes, you guys, we might be standing in line for properties again. Actually, most properties we probably will be standing in line, because 6% is going to feel like such a good deal at that point. But it's also going to bring housing affordability back. And after having some declining home values in 2023, that are likely to continue into part of 2024, that seems like a probable outlook to me. I was talking to someone yesterday who used to own a really large mortgage company, who's retired now. And I said, what's your rate outlook? And he goes, well, it's hard because everyone I listen to, they've been wrong. We've been talking about that, right, you guys? Like, if you've been watching, we're just planning on rates being higher, because if we get the gift of them being lower, that's great. But if you're planning to be a buyer right now or seller, let's plan for higher. And then if they're lower, it's a blessing. But he did tell me one thing. If you look historically, for decades, prior to elections, rates always decline. He also said gas prices always decline as well. But we could be seeing some rate relief at some point in 2024 due to the election. We're not trying to be political here. We're just looking at history to try to see what the future is going to be. We're not sure if interest rates will decline in 2024. We're not sure if housing prices will go up or down. If we knew that, I wouldn't be on this YouTube video. I would be living on a beach, probably in Hawaii, shaking a magic wand, making a ton of money, right? But we don't know. But if you're a home buyer, if you're thinking about being a home buyer, if the right house is available for you and you can afford the current payment, maybe we should talk to see if there's a strategy to get you an even better value, and talk about what it looks like to hold that asset until refinance opportunities come available. Krista, I just want you to put a bow on everything we talked about, and we'll be done today.
Just a bow, little baby bow. So bottom line, for people like David and myself, our goal is to give you the information that may not be the prettiest information, but is what is actually happening in the market and what makes the most sense for you, right? So with interest rates, if they hold at 8%, we're looking at some more depreciation. If they drop, which they could possibly, with all the political stuff that's going on with the election based on history, then we could be standing in line again. But we don't have a crystal ball. We're going based on historical fact, and we are just a good resource for what is actually going on. And if you want to talk about your specific situation, you can always reach out to us, and make sure you like and subscribe, like David said, to get the most up-to-date market information.
Yeah, and if you guys want to know about your particular property, right, or a particular area, there is a form, a link to a form below. You could fill it out. You could ask us some questions. We can email you. We can text you. We can call you. Whatever your preference is. We could jump on a Zoom call, right? Not in a salesy way, in an educational way. That is our goal. I do believe that real estate, there's this emotional piece to it, but I believe we're in the financial services. And people deserve to be educated. We're not just here to give you cupcakes and open doors and give you balloons and make it fun, even though buying a house should be fun, right? Shopping for a home should be fun. Mm-hmm. It should also be educational. You should learn a lot. You should learn a lot about the market. So if you have questions, link below, fill out the form, let us know. If you don't have questions yet, subscribe. Maybe send us. If you're watching this and you're not going to buy or sell real estate this year, you probably know someone who's going to. And maybe this episode, a future episode, or previous episode, there's some nugget in there that your friend needs to know about what's happening in the marketplace right now. Because my Instagram tells me the Portland market is hot, but the data tells me values are declining. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.